Oh yeah, but anyway, I
I
want
love
to
how
watch this
most
video.
young men in our generation grew up hearing in public school that there's 76 genders, but all of us kind of independently realized it's fake.
No, that is not taught in schools. It's not taught that there are 76 genders. Look, if they were actually teaching like gender theory to students, like like really getting in the weeds with it, then the most they would say is not that, but that there could be an infinite number of genders, because gender is an expression. It is theater. And so you can make up whatever the hell you want. It doesn't matter. And anyway, nowhere. No, it doesn't. Let's keep this. It's just dumb. They don't
Hey
teach that
guys,
there's
welcome back to
76
Kingdom
fucking
Craft,
genders.
where we build
That's
churches
so
in
dumb.
Minecraft while talking
That's
about
so fucking
Christianity.
dumb. No
Today I'm
school
going to keep
teaches
working
that.
on this church that I started at the top of my little oasis.
There may be students. There may have been students that like claim that. I'll grant him that. Okay, that could be the reality. But there's no way that was like in the curriculum. That is impossible. I want to see it.
While I talk about something not directly related to Christianity, but kind of related. It's how I went from liberal to conservative, how I went from progressive to more traditional. And this is not the same as my conversion to Christianity. It's not the same as my conversion from secular to Christian, but it is sort of intertwined. But the thing is, my conversion to Christianity was instantaneous. It was one night.
Is he saying that he was an atheist? I don't understand. Is he like it does look it I don't think, and I could be wrong about this. I could be wrong. But I don't think that the word secular really applies to people. I mean, maybe it does. Secular thoughts may come from secular people. I don't know. I guess it just doesn't, like, I am okay with government institutions being secular. I wouldn't want to live in a country with a non-secular government. So yeah,
I
but
realized
anyway.
Christianity is true. I realized it all made sense, and from that point on, I was a passionate Christian with a passion to serve God and spread the knowledge of God. Whereas my conversion from leftist to Christian,
anyway, that's why
my conversion from leftist
I
to
am now
conservative
the most
was a lot more
homophobic
gradual.
man
It
alive.
took time, and it was
That's
in
why.
4 different stages.
And nothing else.
So the
And-
first
and
stage was
nothing else.
actually before my conversion to Christianity. The first stage of my conversion from liberal to conservative sort of just weakened my faith in the leftist religion, you could say, and the rest of the stages, you could say, of my.
By the way, I just want to say, and I've never said this before, this is the first time I'm saying this. Since we're watching him play Minecraft, I'll say it. His Minecraft builds are kinda trash. They kinda are. Like, mine aren't great either, okay? But mine are like eons ahead of his. My builds are so much. His are dog shit. His Minecraft builds are actually so
conversion
bad.
from liberal
Okay,
to
that's
conservative
it.
were after my conversion to Christianity.
I'm gonna try
as
not
I started to question the
bring
things
it
that I
up.
was taught growing up, the
I don't know.
leftist
Let's see his
presuppositions
builds.
that I was sort of
I feel like the one
raised
he's
with
at right
just
now
based on the
isn't as
culture
bad.
in like New York where I grew up. So leftism really is a religion, and leftism was my religion at the time. It's what gave me meaning and purpose in life. It was
And I
left-wing.
really, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. It's not it's just not. Look, politics and religion, they are not separate. But they are different. They are two different things. They are two different things. They often cross paths. They cross paths often.
Politics, and leftism is a religion for so many people. That is why they have such cancel culture for different words that you're not allowed to use. That's why they regulate speech so much. They regulate speech the same way like a religious fundamentalist would have blasphemy laws. Saying an offensive joke to a leftist is like blaspheming their god. Generally, it's okay to joke about anything except that which is sacred, and social justice is sacred to the left. So, according to leftism, it's okay to, like, joke about God, it's okay to blaspheme God, but it is not okay to blaspheme the god of social justice, according to them. So, that proves that basically every human worships something. The human heart needs to worship something, and if it is not God, if it is not the God of the Bible, it will be something else, whether it's money, power...
I do agree with that, yeah, but, and certainly, so, he's kind of, like, going somewhere with this. I think that, I think there are some people that are, like, truly, I don't know, I could be wrong, I don't know, but, look, what he's talking about here is, if you're not religious, then you'll replace religion with something else, okay, which is, I think, true a lot of time. Also, you know, a lot of people who are religious are also beholden to another force that they, you know, kind of treat like a religion. So that also happens. And anyway, all that is to say, like, yeah, there are leftists that are like religiously leftist. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like that. Some people say I'm like that. I kind of disagree, but also not really, because I think about it like the reason I am politically this way is because of the foundation of my like my thinking, my political thoughts, okay, and that foundation is like impossible without the religion. And you may think like, oh, there's like a lot of terrible things in the Bible, like they say like if you plant two plants together, they're gonna like stone you to death, and that's true. Okay, there is shit like that in the Bible, and you just have to like, it's not cherry picking, or it is cherry picking. I don't know. Call it whatever the fuck you want. Just like think about who wrote it and when they wrote it, and maybe if they were trying to say something else, or maybe they weren't. I don't know. But anyway, you don't have to treat leftism like a religion to be a leftist. And I think you can, but it's not really good for you. First of all, you're gonna like go crazy being a rabid leftist, okay, especially in this society. Okay, we're in America, we're in the United States. I think we should just focus on like not murdering people over the pond. But that, I don't know. I'm crazy. I'm crazy for thinking. That's it. No, stop. We must. We have to do it. Mossad has given us new information, and we cannot pass this up. We cannot pass. This is awesome. So it's so great. All right, I'm going off on a tangent. My bad.
Or in the left's case, their social justice utopia. So saying something offensive is like blaspheming that to them. But you get the point. Leftism is a religion for many people. It was...
No, I think that people probably disagree with you when you say like, you know, oh, I fucking hate gay people or whatever the fuck you say to like trigger the libs, and then you're like, oh, why are you so offended? Oh, this is like your leftism is like your religion. It's like your religion. Look at you. You triggered lefty. Like, just
For me, I
shut the
was
fuck
like a
up.
radical
Please,
Bernie
please
Sanders
just
supporter.
never
I cared a
talk
lot more about
ever
politics
again.
back when I was leftist than I do now.
Yeah.
Now I mostly just care about religion. I'm a bit indifferent to like actual politics.
Yo, unironically, I feel like this person, when I hear people say stuff like that, like, oh, I used to be a Bernie supporter and now I'm like a Republican, you know, like Joe Rogan types, I get so fucking mad at the DNC. I want to I want to choke Nancy Pelosi, Homer Simpson style. Okay, and her neck is so scrangly too. I don't know how to. So, okay, that's fucked up. I'm just kidding. I would never actually do that, even if I met Nancy Pelosi. I would never do that. But I do hate her, and I do really hate her. But yeah. Anyway, violence against women is bad. I know, my bad.
Controversial takes here.
Yeah.
Hot takes on Jason.
Yeah, very. Yeah. Gay people should, like, children should be told that they exist. I know, but that's the take that this person would probably like Homer Simpson choke me over.
Care about cultural issues,
anyway.
like, you know, abortion and stuff that are connected to politics. But in terms of like actual elections, I do not care. Okay. I think we need to fix the culture. But back then, I cared a lot. So for a while, I mean, I was just a teenager. I called myself a socialist. It wasn't because I had actually read any Marx or Lenin or anything like that. I called myself a socialist the same reason a lot of young teenage boys do. It was because I liked the Soviet anthem. But I was very progressive. And when, like, Trump won the election, for example, I had such existential terror because if your god is social justice, then when like something happens that threatens social justice, which I thought was, you know, that election at the time, it gives you quite an existential crisis. So I was like that for a while, and I would like...
Look, man, the truth is, in our society, you should be having an existential crisis no matter who's president. We're making enemies with everyone. Everybody hates us. Our allies are turning their backs on us. Because we're terrible. We're terrible to everyone. And our greatest ally, which has the right to defend itself, is also hated by, like, everyone right now. Except for Germany. In Saudi Arabia.
To tell you that I began questioning leftism once I converted to Christianity. I would like to tell you that the first time I opened a Bible, I saw the truth, and I saw...
So he was... he was, you know, using secularist as synonymous with atheist, which is just not... that's not what that is, bro. It's just not. Okay.
Saw that I was mistaken in being a leftist. That's what I would tell you
this
if I wanted
is
to tell
old,
a good,
I think, by the way,
powerful story, but that's not the truth.
So maybe he knows.
The thing that got me to question leftism was the same exact thing that causes basically every young man to question leftism. It was seeing how cringe the LGBT stuff was, how cringe the transgender identity stuff was. And it was watching SJW...
I think buying into neo-Marxism conspiracy theories is kind of cringe, especially when you don't define what you even mean by the left or liberalism. Presumably in the... Look, he just means, like... Look, bro, he means woke. He means, like, woke mind virus. And he still thinks this shit, okay? He does. He does, for the most part. He probably still thinks that, like, socialism is basically just communism. And Marx was, like, a big socialist, and yeah, like, he's dumb. He's dumb. I don't...
cringe compilations
What else is there?
on YouTube and listening to Ben Shapiro destroys liberals and feminists. It was that sort of stuff, which nowadays I'm kind of embarrassed by. But I listened to this YouTuber like Hunter Avalone, who's actually very liberal now, and he reacted to one of my videos. But I was listening to him back when he like made fun of all that stuff. So my first stage in being conservative, my first push towards conservatism, wasn't really much of a change in my central ideology. It was just a frustration with the whole 76 gender stuff. Like, I was still supportive of LGBT in general, in theory at least, but I was like, maybe there's
How
not
is he
really
from New
76
York
genders. That
and
sounds
sound
kind of
like this?
weird. Maybe, I don't know, color gender is not a real gender. Maybe,
He's got to be he's from upstate New York. He's got to be from upstate New York. Utica. Yeah. This guy's got a Utica
transgender
accent.
identity is not exactly a thing, even though I totally support the LGB and LGBT. I started thinking,
Wait,
like,
what is
maybe
So he never.
transgender identity is not exactly a thing, even though I totally support the LGB and LGBT. I started thinking like that. And I was known as, like, the most liberal person in my friend group. Like, my other friends were liberals, too. But I was known as, like, that super crazy, politically liberal one. So, when I first started to express doubts about that, they were shocked, and they were really angry at me. And I was surprised. I was like, wait, we're liberals. Aren't liberals supposed to be tolerant? Aren't you supposed to, like, tolerate different opinions or whatever?
So much for the
And
tolerant left.
that was just the beginning. Little
Okay, so that's so crazy, dude. So if you missed that, he was saying that. So I think that he definitely went to a private school. Okay, probably a Christian school, probably a private Christian school. Okay, and he had like all these friends that he considered like liberal. Like he was the lived up friend group. Okay. Meanwhile, none of them will, like, tolerate trans people existing. That's just, like, crazy to them. Like, they're not actually, like, liberals or they're not even liberals. I mean, they're certainly not leftists. If they're saying, trans people are, like, evil or whatever the fuck they said. Like, it's not real. It's like you. Icky. But then he started saying like, oh, actually, like maybe like it is wrong to be gay. Maybe it is wrong, and they got mad at him for that. I'm pretty sure that's what he's saying. And anyway,
that I know that
let's hear
was
it.
the
Let's hear
exact
what else.
opposite of what the left is. One of the first
Oh yeah,
stages,
and then he said so much for the tolerant left.
different
Like,
opinions or whatever, and that was just the beginning. Little did I know that was the exact opposite of what the left is.
Yeah,
Tolerant? Aren't you supposed to?
Yeah,
First
aren't you
started
supposed
to
to be
express
tolerant?
doubts about that. They were shocked and they were really angry at me, and I was surprised. I was like, wait. We're liberals. Aren't liberals supposed to be tolerant? Aren't
God,
you supposed to like
his
tolerate
voice is so
different opinions or whatever?
you
And
suck at Minecraft.
that was
by
just
the
the beginning. Little did I know that was the exact opposite of what the left is. One of the
worst.
first stages
It's the
in
ugliest
deconstructing
build I've
leftism
ever
is
seen.
realizing that no, they are not actually tolerant. They are only tolerant of things they like, and
Alright,
that's
so
not
much for the
tolerance. It's like
tolerant left.
they're not tolerant of LGBT, they like it. It doesn't make sense to be tolerant of something you already like. That's like me saying I'm tolerant of Christianity. No, I'm not tolerant of it, I like it, I promote it. Tolerance would be like tolerating something you disagree with, maybe. I don't know, maybe I could say that I tolerate Roman Catholicism because I allow...
Okay, man. No, that's not how it works. Like, he's doing the thing where he's gonna be like, oh yeah, they're like trying to make everyone else gay because they're like supporting it. Yes, we support it. Okay, it's okay. It is okay to be that way. Obviously it fucking is. Well, I guess it's not obvious to people like this, and that is
lots of Roman Catholics to build a bunch of things on my Minecraft server. Ooh, there's an ocelot over there.
fucking
I tolerate Catholicism, even though I'm not Catholic, but still, I like Catholicism because it's Christianity. But you cannot tolerate something that you are actively pushing for. So one of the first things I realized is the left is not tolerant. So my first wave of conservatism didn't actually change.
He's sort of correct here. They're not tolerant. They are like we are supportive of these people. We're saying that the bare minimum is to be tolerant. That is the bare minimum. To tolerate another person's existence that has just a different like lifestyle than you, or like made different choices about their own, the way they dress, the way they present themselves to others. The fuck is wrong? Shame on you. I'm liberal finger wagging you right now, redeemed
Change any
Zoomer.
fundamental ideas that I had.
I don't do this a
did
lot.
Two things.
Okay?
Number one, it made me question.
You are being gross once again, and this video has been the most egregious example of that so far.
It made me question the integrity and the character of leftists. Like
I know it's not. None of this is surprising, but I may actually like have to stop watching this part, and I feel like I have a pretty high tolerance for this sort of like bigotry, but. What the fuck?
Catholicism, even though I'm not Catholic, but still, I like Catholicism because it's Christianity. But you cannot tolerate something that you are actively pushing for. So one of the first things I realized is the left is not tolerant. So my first wave of conservatism didn't actually change any fundamental ideas that I had. It did two things. Number one, it made me question leftism. It made me question the integrity and the character of leftists. Like, I used to respect them, but now I saw them as kind of mean. And another thing was, it made me realize that their arguments aren't exactly based on logic and reasoning, because when I tried to reason with them, I was just shut down and given, like, a bunch of emotional arguments instead, which are not arguments, it's just conversation enders. So I wasn't any sort of intellectual kind of conservative. I wasn't listening to anything, that intellectually rich. It was mostly just reactionary stuff. As powerful as SJW cringe compilations were in 2017 for radicalizing some young men, it's not the most intellectually substantive thing, but I think it's not even trying to be. I think there still is a place for that in small doses to just show how absurd the—
So I just want to say that and I'm gonna let him finish. But if you don't want to talk to people like this, that is completely understandable. Like, if somebody said this shit to me in real life, I would probably walk away. I don't know what I would do. I would probably just be like, what the fuck? Like, I'm just trying to get Wendy's, okay? Put the fries in the bag. I don't know. But Anyway, what you would say to a person who is making the argument that he's making right now is this. And again, it probably won't convince them anyway, and you don't have to talk to them, so but it's this. The reason he's correct. He's like, oh yeah, like, they're supporting LGBT, like they're pushing it. They're pushing it. Yeah, man. Because of motherfuckers like you who want to, like, deny their existence, hide them away from the public eye, and yeah, I mean, you just, like, want them to fuck off. So yeah, there are people that support the lifestyle, like it. They are people too. It is okay to acknowledge their existence and that their choices are okay. Or I guess not, because the whole thing is. Jesus
but
would totally
once your faith is shaken,
gay
it's important to
people.
grab hold of something with actual substance, like Christianity.
Not hate.
So
no, he
that was
wouldn't
in,
hate
like,
them. I mean,
the
he would just,
winter
like,
of
he would just
2017,
be like,
the
that's
beginning
wrong,
of 2017.
that's wrong, you
and in
gotta
summer
stop.
2017, I went to that summer camp where I converted to Christianity. I shared my more extended testimony in other places. I don't think I would have been quite as open to being evangelized to by those conservative Christians if my faith in leftism hadn't been shaken. So my first wave of becoming conservative was important in that it got me to distrust liberalism and leftism. I mean, I know those are not the same thing, but at that time I thought of them as the same thing. So I'm going to talk about them univocally. I'm going to use univocity of those terms. I'm going to talk about them as if they're the same for the sake of this video, because you guys know what I mean. So if my faith in liberalism had not been shaken, I wouldn't have been open-minded to conservative Christians, but it was shaken, so I was open-minded to listening.
By the way, this is a person who it's so fucking fun to me that he's talking about liberalism, but not surprising, of course, but he literally put this video was from 11 months ago, the one that I'm watching, that we're watching. Who the fuck else is watching this stream? But anyway, Minecraft beautifully explains Christianity. Okay. I wonder, I wonder what his perspective on Minecraft is in relation to that. I think I might have to watch. It's only 8 minutes long. We're gonna finish this one first. But anyway, in another video, and I just posted a video yesterday about this. This person is talking about liberalism. He doesn't know what liberalism is. Like he literally just he does not understand. Like he has no idea the history of liberalism, like what it actually is, who was thinking about it, and how it is applied today. Okay, like liberalism is very old. I don't even know if he knows that, or maybe he thinks that like liberalism has been like hammered into something else. It's all like woke now, like it used to be based, or I don't know.
To conservative Christians, and I ended up converting Christianity that summer. And I didn't immediately change any political opinions I had that summer, because my conversion to Christianity was not the same as my conversion to conservatism. Christianity is not identical with conservatism, and it's important to realize that. It's like, even if you're like a conservative young man, even if you're listening to like Jordan Peterson or other conservative political philosophers, what really matters most in the end is, do you have a personal relationship with Jesus? Are you going to church? Are you active in your faith in Christ? Do you actually want to participate in the Christian faith? Or is it just some vague thing that you generally support? We shouldn't just be Christian because it's based in trad and conservative. Either it's true or it's not. If it's not true, we shouldn't be Christian. If it is true, we should, and it is true, so we should. But that summer,
I think the importance of church is real. Okay, like you need a church, and I feel that. Like I really want to go to church. I do, but I don't because of you, because of motherfuckers like you. I hate you because of that. It sucks. But it's just because we live in a society. We live in a society, dude, and it's full of crazy motherfuckers. It's full to the brim of redeemed Zoomers, I think. And it really, it makes me sad. Because it's not what Jesus would want. None of this is.
I still identified as a socialist, even a communist sometimes. I was really cringe. I had like the most cringe aspects of the left and the right. I called myself a communist, but also was like, I'm not one of those.
Yeah, probably because you didn't know what the fuck it was. Because you don't even know what liberalism is, dumbass. You don't know what in the goddamn communism is. Like, that's the most unsurprising thing he said in this video
like
so
silly
far,
SJW communist. So at the time I was like socially
That's
very
crazy.
anti-woke. I didn't like any of that woke stuff. But economically I still liked a lot of the left-wing stuff. I still called myself socialist. I still listened to the Soviet anthem because I was an edgy teenager. And I still liked all that. I still would identify politically as a Democrat, even though I questioned a lot of the attitude and behavior of my fellow Democrats in New York.
Me too.
Now, of course, the place where I converted wasn't New York. It was when I went to that Christian camp in the Midwest. My pilgrimage to the Midwest was very impactful, and to this day, the Midwest has always been the Holy Land for me. The Midwest does have the most nice, amazing people you'll ever meet, even if their architecture often sucks. The Midwest is the Holy Land. The Holy Land isn't Palestine, guys. It's Ohio. Anyway, so I came back to New York. I saw that my New York friends were a lot less nice than those Midwesterners I was exposed to, but I was still trying to be a champion of...
You see, like, when you say shit like that is... I think that is blasphemous. Like, that is literally blasphemous, dude. That's so crazy. That you literally just, like, did heresy. But it's okay because he's, like, trad. He's, like, Republican. That's what they'll tell me. Yeah.
Liberalism. That was until my friends completely betrayed me. Like, they were my friends for a long time, and they still kept kind of being my friends after hearing that I was starting to question leftism. But then I converted to Christianity, and they got really suspicious. My friends were mostly Jewish and atheist. So one of my Jewish friends, after I got back from summer camp, made a joke blaspheming Christianity, and I got offended, and she was like, wait, I can't say that? And I was like, no, I'm Christian now. She was like, I thought you were Jewish, because, I have a Jewish last name and Jewish heritage, even though I've never been part of the Jewish faith.
Wait,
so one of my Jewish friends, after I got back from summer camp, made a joke, and they still kept kind of being my friend.
Made a joke, but after he just got done making a joke blaspheming the... You have to be joking right now. It blows my fucking mind. It blows my
friends
fucking
after hearing
mind.
that I was starting to question leftism, But
That
then
I
converted
did
to
not
Christianity,
expect.
and they got
That
really
I
suspicious.
was
My
not
friends were mostly
expecting.
Jewish and atheists.
That's
so one of my Jewish
crazy.
friends, after I got back from summer camp,
He
made a joke
actually
blaspheming
did
Christianity, and I got offended, and she was like, "Wait, I can't say that." And I was like, "No, I'm Christian now." She was like, "I thought you were Jewish," because I have a Jewish last name and Jewish heritage, even though I've never been part of the Jewish faith. But I was like, "No, I'm Christian, and that's really offensive." So she was like, "All right." But behind my back, my friends were like, "Oh, Richard, because that's my name. Richard is a Christian now, and he's going to become like a super homophobic, bigoted Christian and all that." And at that time, I didn't think I was. At the time, I tried to tell them like, "No, being Christian to me just means being nice to people." And they're like, "Okay, but we're watching you." So then the second I started to actually argue with them about LGBT stuff, about transgender stuff, I was immediately canceled. And people who I thought were my friends, people who I thought I could trust, turned on me in like an instant. And because they're New Yorkers and because they were jerks, they didn't even tell me they turned on me. They still pretended to be my friends for a little while. And I gradually realized throughout the school year, this was in high school, that they had been trash talking me behind my back, and that's why I started to notice them getting less and less friendly with me. So that is what triggered my second wave of being conservative. So I just...
Dude, we all like vines. Get some shears. Get some goddamn shear. What are you doing? You're so... I'm sorry. He's so trash at this game. I cannot
all
fucking
liberalism
stand
entirely. At least I thought
Let-
so. So in the summer
Okay, and
2018,
he's
I became sort of like a
transphobic,
Ben
too.
Shapiro,
Sorry,
Dennis
my bad,
Prager type
my bad. He
conservative.
is also
At that
being
point, I was just
transphobic
knee-jerk
right now.
anti-liberal. So that's when I finally stopped calling myself like a socialist or a communist or whatever. And I was listening to like Dennis Prager's fireside chats. Now, he says a lot of very cringe things, Dennis Prager, but some of his fireside chats, you gotta say, they admit they are kind of interesting. He does share things that are very wise, at least compared to the public school nonsense I was fed my entire life. So at that time, it was helpful for me.
So he
but
did go to public school. Interesting. He went... Wait. So he went to a public school in New York. In the state of New York, where the most liberal group of kids at that school, Zoomers, mind you, Gen Z, the most liberal group of kids were just tolerant of gay people, like, but only the LGB. He said that specifically. What fucking school was he going to? That is upstate New York, right? That's gotta be like fucking Utica, right? Am I crazy? I still thought like a public school in Utica would be like more liberal than that. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm dumb.
But I wasn't really listening to religious content. I was just listening to like right-wing political content, and that wasn't the most spiritually healthy for me. I began to really doubt my faith, because the first year of being Christian was really fun, but the second year of being Christian, I started to have serious intellectual doubts about the...
Yeah, I mean, I feel what he's saying right now. I think that it is understandable to like question obviously it's understandable, I think, in any society to question your faith. I'm not saying it's like okay, it's like a good thing to do, it's like healthy. I'm not saying that, but it is like normal. And I also think that it is especially normal in a society like ours, where you have all these Christians that are so hateful and like ignorant, and it sucks. Like it really does. I don't know. What else to say about it. I have a bump on my finger. What the hell is that? Chad, I think I have some kind of like mole, but it's on the tip of my finger. But it's not a mole. It's like I kind of think I think I'm sorry. I think it might be a tumor. I don't know. It's kind of like it doesn't really move, and it's kind of hard. I'm gonna look it up. Yo, Google, please don't tell me something I don't want to hear. Summer finger pumps? Wait, what? Oh, god damn it, I have eczema? Interesting. That's crazy. That's crazy. I've never gotten this before. Did I acquire it? Apparently it's something that happens when it's hot out. Yup. Crazy how that works. Anyway, let's keep
which I would share,
watching
but I
this
recently
shit.
also made a video about how to deal with doubts. So if you're struggling with that, you should watch that video. And some people said it helped them. But I was listening to people like Ben Shapiro and Dennis Prager for advice about faith.
Yeah,
and, they're not-
if you are doubting your faith, just like understand that it's fair. Like it's in this society. I'm not saying it is okay to like leave the church. That's fucked up, okay? But I get why.
Not Christian,
I
do.
get
It's a
why.
different religion, so I probably shouldn't have
do.
done that. So yeah, my type of conservatism back then was,
really
I love my
fucking do.
guns and my freedoms and the state of Israel that I will die for before I even die for my own country. That was my type of conservatism back then. Again, very cringe. You'll notice this is mostly just a story of all the different ways in which I've been cringe and fitting every single young male stereotype. I basically speed ran every young male stereotype on the left and the right. But yes, I was that type of conservative for a while, but I still wasn't that socially conservative. Like, I still, in theory,
internet
supported
has
gay
failed
rights. I still
kids
supported
like
gay marriage
this.
in theory. I still supported gay marriage in the church even, because I wasn't reading the Bible or anything. I was just listening to conservative political content. And, you know, I saw certain videos, like on PragerU, about, you know, gay conservatives. So I thought, yeah, why can't there be gay conservatives if they love freedom or whatever? So yeah, my second wave of conservatism was mostly just economic and political conservatism. But still, I was unknowingly quite progressive in other ways just because of the cultural pressure. That's why I say these days Democrat versus Republican doesn't matter, because it used to be both sides were, you know, against LGBT, and then the cultural tides changed, so then both sides now are for LGBT. So what does that mean? It means it really doesn't matter in the end whether Democrats or Republicans win, if both sides will just follow the culture. So that's why you really need to just change the culture, and then you will improve both political parties.
person.
Like, once we realize what a woman is, then we can argue about taxes. That's the way I see it. That's why I don't care about politics anymore. I care about the culture and I care about religion. Anyway. So I was like that for a while. I was sort of like a Republican-type conservative. But I told you I had a lot of doubts about my faith, and I saw answers to it, and I found answers in Calvinism and Reformed theology. I began listening to Tim Keller. Tim Keller was massively helpful for my faith. So my third wave of conservatism after that was much less about politics and much more finally about theology. This was like the biggest in Calvinism and Reformed theology. I began listening to Tim Keller. Tim Keller was massively helpful for my faith. So my third wave of conservatism after that was much less about politics and much more finally about theology. This was like the biggest intersection between my conservatism and my Christianity, because it was in this stage that I finally understood the Bible. I finally started reading the Bible. And once I did, I read what it said about, you know, abortion and homosexuality. And I realized that while we're supposed to love all people, Jesus said to love your enemies, that doesn't mean we affirm all people. And yes, Jesus did eat with the outcasts, he did eat with prostitutes and stuff, but his goal in doing that was not inclusion, it was redemption. When asked why he was doing that by the Pharisees, he said it's the sick who need a doctor, but if you call sexually immoral people sick, the left will freak out at you. So whenever they say, oh, Jesus was accepting because he ate with prostitutes, just bring that up to them. So it was hard for me. Like, a lot of times when I tell people I have a traditional Christian view of sexuality, and that includes homosexuality, they'll be like, oh, you're just some evangelical bigot who grew up in some evangelical bubble. I'm like, guys, I did not grow up evangelical. I've never been evangelical. I grew up very much supporting all this. I grew up with lots of gay friends and family. It was a very hard decision to make, and I had a lot of uncomfortable conversations in the process of making that. But I eventually realized it's what the Bible says. The Bible is the Word of God. And I know a lot of people around me were telling me the Bible's not the Word of God, and I should just trust the mainstream culture. But I saw the fruits of the mainstream culture around me. Everyone was miserable. And I began seeing many, many examples of people, particularly young women, becoming much more depressed after getting sucked down the LGBTQ rabbit hole and also the social justice rabbit hole.
They were just trying to help you not be a terrible person by explaining to you that the Bible is written by people that are, look, you cannot follow everything in the Bible. You can't. Do you wear clothes of one thread material? Fuck you.
The fruits of the culture around me, and I start to really distrust it. So I put 100% of my trust in the Bible instead. I mean, at least I said I did. in reality, I never trust the Bible.
Everybody is like, oh, I follow the
and I trusted the Bible enough at that point to realize the Bible does teach homosexuality.
I follow it better than anybody else.
And it was very, very unpopular.
Clean your inventory for.
So at that point, I was completely against
My
LGBT
God.
abortion, and that didn't just cause trouble at school. That caused trouble at
Make
church.
this
Because,
man
as you guys know,
clean
I'm
his
in a
inventory.
progressive denomination,
You're
the
so
PCUSA.
God.
And for those of you saying, why don't I just leave? Well, I don't believe in running away. I believe that the reason the churches and schools and everything got this progressive is because conservatives keep running away from things. I think if conservatives want to see any positive cultural change, we need to stop running away from mainstream churches and mainstream universities and mainstream cities and begin to go back to those spaces and have an influence once again. We need to not seek out our own safe spaces. You know, in those SJW cringe compilations, I hear a lot about liberals needing safe spaces, but in practice, it's actually conservatives who often do. Conservatives are often too scared to fight for the truth. So yeah, that's why I remained in the PCUSA, my progressive-leaning denomination. But it was hard being there, and I sometimes got yelled at by progressive pastors in my own denomination for being pro-life. One of them said unborn children are parasites. Now, I would say that person should never be a pastor if she called unborn children parasites, but it's what she did, and that is really concerning. That's an understatement, of course. That's completely wicked, and she should be excommunicated from the church for saying that. She also called Tim Keller a fundamentalist because, you know, he doesn't support women's ordination because he's in the PCA. But, you know, these people don't believe in God, basically. They believe the resurrection.
Interesting, pastor. Interesting. Yeah, anyway, I also agree with, look, if you look at science, and I know that you care a lot about science, Redeemed Zoomer. You believe that science is the study of the world. And that's pretty cool. If you look, an embryo is classified as a parasite, and that doesn't mean that they're like evil and we hate them, okay, but a parasite is just a thing that like takes from its host and doesn't give anything back. And sometimes parasites, sometimes they don't really affect their host in a major way, and in the case of an embryo, you're only carrying it for 9 months. So once you get to the 9-month mark, you know, it's not like it's staying permanently. But yeah, I mean, parasites can threaten your life sometimes, and the same is true with embryos. It happens.
And Jesus is just a metaphor. So I'll take all of their spiritual advice with a grain of salt. Or actually just not at all. So yeah, that was the third wave of my shift towards conservatism.
But no, we don't like that. At that point,
I was
science.
conservative enough
to
impress my fiance when I met her on Instagram. We were both doing digital evangelism, and we just crossed paths with each other and fell in love. And I have the whole Calvinist love story is available on YouTube if you want to hear the details. But basically, I was pretty conservative back then. I was still in favor of like women's ordination. I was still in favor of women pastors in theory, and she actually changed my mind on that. So anytime someone says I'm sexist for not supporting women's ordination, I just bring that detail up. I bring up why I no longer support women's ordination. It's because I was simping.
Yeah, no, it was actually a misogynistic. It was a woman that made me a misogynist. She like was more misogynistic than me and made me a misogynist. You are a scumbag,
no, it's not.
bro.
It's because she showed me that my biblical arguments for women's ordination
dude.
were complete mental gymnastics,
That's
and
crazy.
I was just coping hard. Shouldn't use those exact words, but you get the gist. So what was my fourth wave of conservatism? So, well, part of it was just learning to not accept women's ordination, but also I met my fiance in the midst of the big pandemic, the big lockdown, and that's when, during the 2020 election, when all the BLM protests were going on, and I saw so many progressives in my hometown just on social media supporting violence. I mean, think what you want politically, but supporting political violence is not cool. And so many on the left were supporting this violence. It's like left-wing violence is considered just free speech, but right-wing free speech is considered political violence. So that's when I started to really deeply examine where the culture went wrong. That's when I first developed the seeds of my Reconquista ideology, that we need to retake the culture on a deep structural level.
They're attacking us.
That's when I started to care more
Black
care about more than
is
just
a
politics,
fucking pain in the
and
ass.
more than just, you know, theological rules, but also about the spiritual health of the culture. Another reason I ended up becoming like this is because I'm a musician. I'm a classical musician. I was taking a composition class, and I was constantly told in like this composition class to appreciate modern art and modern classical music. And I began to realize that modern art and modern classical music is absolutely disgusting. So I learned about cultural Marxism and critical theory in the Frankfurt School, and I realized why modern art and modern classical music. And I began to realize that modern art and modern classical music is absolutely disgusting. So I learned about cultural Marxism and critical
Again,
theory and the Frankfurt School, and I realized why everything is the way it is.
You don't have to listen.
Basically, all the issues that we're facing in modernity can be traced back to, like, philosophy, certain philosophical schools. I mean, you could really trace it back to Immanuel Kant or even Descartes, and back to the French Revolution at least, if you want to go back far enough. But the modern iteration of all this is really with the Frankfurt School, like Antonio Gramsci and Herbert Marcuse, all those Frankfurt School guys. And basically, the essence of cultural Marxism is trying to deconstruct everything, not trying to build everything up. How does this apply to modern art? Well, art used to be about living up to an objective beauty standard, but nowadays, modern art is really just about deconstructing the beauty standard. It's not about living up to it.
I love the game, but I keep dying. Has Elden Ring to it. It is not easy. If you say so.
It's just about challenging things. So modernism and the critical theory doesn't build up; it just tears down. So that's how it applies to art and music, and you can see the fruits of that. Now, how does this apply to theology? Everything began to make sense to me. In my progressive church, I noticed that the progressive pastors wouldn't ever preach on truth from the Bible. They would never read a Bible passage and say, "Here's what this means." They would never talk about heaven or God or the resurrection or salvation as something that's actually real. All they would do is try and challenge traditional assumptions. All that progressive pastors would ever do is read a Bible passage and say, now traditionally Christians thought this, but actually, and they would say something that they totally just made up. And it's obvious, and it's why progressive churches are dying out, because they don't preach anything of substance. They have this very profound agnosticism to anything supernatural.
Can you give
if you talk to progressive pastors and progressive seminary professors long enough, if you really push them on questions like I did, you will find that they are actual atheists. I am not just using that as some sort of insult. Like, they do not believe in God. And a lot of them used to when they first went into seminary, but then seminary professors who are also, cultural Marxists,
what's the big passage
tried their absolute hardest to convince them that the stories in the Bible are not true. And there are a lot of seminary professors who make it their goal to tear apart the faiths of students, and I cannot think of anything more wicked than that. But it's what they do, and it is actually very disturbingly common. And this does exist in the Catholic Church too. For those of you who are about to spam comment, this is the fruits of Protestantism. Martin Luther said the Pope shouldn't tell people to buy their way out of hell, and that led to Drag Queen Story Hour. No, that Martin Luther did not cause this. Liberation theology, which is a lot of this critical theory applied to Christianity, comes from a Catholic priest in Peru. And I'm not saying it's Catholic's fault either. I'm saying,
look, Luther was more based than 99% of Christians today, because he saw what was happening in the church, and he was like, "This shit sucks." They're racketeering. They were like racketeering in medieval times. The church was like the mafia, basically. I saw you on Outlast 2. I don't think you liked it. LOL. I was watching. I was really tired when I played it. Yep. Yeah. What wasn't that at like? Oh well. Yeah, but I got up really early. I didn't sleep that much. It wasn't that late, but it felt like it was. I think it was like 8. Anyway, I'm gonna unpause this, but I'll be right
liberalism
back.
affects all of Christianity, whether Protestant or Catholic. And even Jay Dyer, who is like one of the strongest Orthodox apologists, admits that liberalism exists in Protestantism, Catholicism, Orthodoxy. It's everywhere, and I appreciate his honesty on that. So, liberalism is a problem wherever you go, because cultural Marxism is meant to deconstruct the West. So yes, cultural Marxism applies to art by promoting modern art. It applies to religion by making it completely meaningless and only just metaphors for social justice. And it applies to gender by deconstructing the definition of male and female, of man and woman. You'll notice that's why, like Matt Walsh's documentary, What is a Woman? It was very culturally useful, because it really exposed the truth that they actually cannot define what a woman is. And that's not a bug, it's a feature. According to cultural Marxism, you're not supposed to try and define it. In the documentary, one of the liberal gender studies professors got mad at Matt Walsh for asking him for like a gender essentialist view of gender, which means asking him for an actual answer as to what is a woman. So that is what the purpose of all of this is, and I think Matt Walsh did a good job of exposing it. Now, I'm not saying that conservative political commentary is always good. I think it's often rage bait, but What is a Woman? I think that was a very culturally important documentary for all of us. So there was that. So cultural Marxism deconstructs gender and the family and sexuality. It does not prescribe any positively good sexual ethic or gender ethic.
Okay, it is so fucking funny that he brings it. I can't believe he brings this shit up. And he brought up the professor that Matt Walsh talked to in the documentary. And look, Matt Walsh did actually do this. Here's what happened. Okay, go watch it. If you doubt me, go watch the fucking documentary. Matt Walsh gets his camera and he goes to talk to this like gender studies professor, and he asked the professor a question. He said, "What is a woman?" And then the professor, a person that studies gender, gave him a long-winded explanation of what a woman is, what, like, it just, his interpretation, his, as a gender studies studier, put it in words that Matt Walsh could understand. And anyway, what they did with the documentary is they just, like, sped their way through it. Like, they just, like, sped it up, and they made it look like he was, like, rambling. I think I don't know the person's pronouns, but my bad. Anyway, they were just talking about it normally, and yeah, I believe the unedited version is out there. I don't know, but they just, like, clipped it. Like, they just like got rid of the whole explanation. It made it look like he was, like, rambling. My bad, I did it again. My bad. I'm gonna just unpause this shit.
It just deconstructs traditional things. And I began learning about people like Judith Butler and Michel Foucault, who basically say that objective truth does not exist, and that the only real truth is fighting oppression, which basically means sleeping around as much as possible to challenge traditional Western Christian ideas of what sexuality should be about. They think truth is oppressive, and that's why during the BLM riots, during the whole BLM movement in 2020, you saw things that made sense. It's good to expose acts of racism where they do exist, but they were saying things like math is racist, and that's not just a myth that conservative reactionaries made up. In certain states like Oregon, they were actually suspending advanced math curriculums in schools because they say that traditional math is racist. And why would they possibly think that? I mean, it's absurd, but it's not like there's nothing behind it. There is something behind it. It's cultural Marxism. According to cultural Marxism, there is no objective truth, because they recognize that objective truth can only really exist with God, and they believe there is no God, so therefore there's no objective truth. There's only your truth and my truth. So therefore, any claim to objective truth, whether it's about art, or music, or gender, or math, is a form of oppression. They claim that the only real truth there is basically social justice, and it's completely self-contradictory. But aside from that, any claim to truth that people make is really just a power grab. That is not simply what woke teenage girls post on their Instagram, even though that is what woke teenage girls post on their Instagram. That is rooted in those postmodern liberal philosophers. I mean, I'm using the word liberal wrongly, just as a synonym for leftist in the context of this video. I know they're not the same, but no, I'm not a political philosopher, I'm a theology nerd. So this is not my area of expertise, so you have to show me some grace for that.
Yes,
but you guys know what I
deja
mean.
vu, but...
You guys know what I mean. This is all very intentional.
No, it didn't happen.
And for the longest time, when I tried to, like, tell, you know, older people about this, like boomers, they're like, oh, this is just kids being kids, they'll grow out of it, it's just a phase. I think boomers do not grasp the reality of how much our culture has decayed. It's like, okay, boomers, just because you were a bunch of drunk, degenerate idiots when you were young and you grew out of it, doesn't mean our generation will grow out of it. Boomers have this mindset of everything will be fine in the end, because everything sort of was fine in the end for their generation. But for us in the Zoomer generation, it's really not.
They don't give a fuck.
So those are the four stages in which I converted away from progressivism.
They don't give a shit about any of this.
So the first wave was just, you know, a dissatisfaction
They're like, oh,
with
hell yeah,
wokeness
like, we're gonna be dead
and
anyway.
SJW stuff. Nothing really substantive. My second stage of becoming conservative was just, you know, political Ben Shapiro-type conservatism, basically just generic republicanism. My third stage in being conservative was accepting the general evangelical social teaching about homosexuality, abortion, and some other things. And the fourth wave was me becoming red-pilled about cultural Marxism and the profound ways in which our culture has been hijacked. And it was from there that I developed the idea of Reconquista. I heard this really important, you know, conversation between Elisa Childers, who has a YouTube channel about progressive Christianity. She mostly focuses on progressive Christianity in evangelical context, less so in the mainline. And there's this one guest on her show, I'm forgetting who it even was, but he made a very good point that has stuck with me for years. It's that progressives never build any strong institutions. They didn't build Harvard or Yale or Princeton. Those were started by Bible-believing Christians. All they do is hijack things. And that made me realize we need to take back what they have hijacked from us. So guys, that's about the end of this video. I'm going to speed this up while I keep doing some work, and I will see you guys later.
Yeah, we're hijackers. That's what we're doing. What an asshole. Let's keep watching. Finally, he cleaned out his inventory. Why did you only bring one torch? Sticks with them, I'm done. You bring like 8 logs with you. You'll have enough torches for a while. Okay. I'm gonna be real. I've played Minecraft worse than that. But number one, my builds are still better. They are unequivocal, hands down. You're crazy if you think your builds are better than mine, Redeem Zoomer. And second of all, he seems to play the game a lot, I think. And anyway, that reminds me. We're gonna watch one more.
I started my channel by
Donut.
fusing Minecraft and Christianity. It's because I've always believed Minecraft can help us understand Christianity in many ways. It shows why modern science is compatible with belief in God, it helps us understand what heaven will be like and what we will do there, and even helps us understand the problem of why God allows evil. Cool! Does this work for other video games like Fortnite or Angry Birds? No. Minecraft is different because Minecraft is a copy of the real world, and we know that reality exists outside of the world of Minecraft, so that helps us explore the possibility that reality could exist outside of our physical world. So understanding how we relate to a Minecraft world can help us understand how God relates to our world. Let's say there was a villager who had never met a Minecraft player, and that all he knew was the natural world of Minecraft. He might not believe Minecraft had a creator. He might not believe there is a world outside Minecraft. In fact, the scientists of his world might believe that Minecraft generated by a natural process. They might say, we don't believe in a creator, science has revealed that Minecraft generated by a code. There's no big villager in the sky who went into creative mode and built all this. Now we know that it's silly for a Minecraft character to think this way, but this is similar to how a lot of modern atheists think about God. Especially ones who think that the more science can explain about our world, the less room there is for God. But Minecraft shows us that even if science is able to explain everything about our world, God can still be behind it. There is no contradiction. For example, it's true that every Minecraft world is generated by
he is fantasizing about what villagers in you want to know what villagers in Minecraft are thinking? They're thinking, That's what they're fucking thinking.
Kind of like how there are laws of physics behind the world we see. Minecraft worlds are infinite and will keep generating themselves based on the seed code that you give them. Seriously, anytime you make a new Minecraft world, you can use your own seed code, any combination of letters and numbers that you want. And the
Never understood the abortion topic. We're more irate about a fetus being deleted than people dying in schools, malls, churches, etc. Yeah, I agree with that. However, he thinks that abortion is wrong because it's murder. It's murder too. And like he would say, well, it's wrong that people shoot up malls. Like that's wrong too. That's wrong too. Two things are just wrong. You have to. This person cannot be like intellectually honest and understand the science. And I'm a science Christian. I love science. I'm a Christian, but I love science. He's fucking saying that shit over and over again. But yeah, most scientists agree that it's not wrong to have an abortion because a fetus, it doesn't form a central nervous system until, like, I think week 6. And 80% of abortions happen before week 9, and even when the CNS starts to form, it's just like the spinal cord, and like technically it could maybe feel pain.
Will generate you a world in an exact and predictable manner based on the seed code that you put in. And even though your new world is infinite, anyone in the world who uses the same seed code that you did will have the same exact world generated.
You're just like, it's murder because
I say it is. We can still say God created it exactly as he wanted, because God made the process, and God started the process knowing exactly how it would turn out. This is why a lot of modern thinkers think we might live in a simulation, and that's possible, but it shows that belief in God is also reasonable. Now here's how Minecraft can help us understand heaven, or the new heavens and the new earth, which is what the Bible actually talks about. A big question is, how similar will the new heavens and the new earth be to the earth we currently live in? Because the Bible has a lot of passages that imply that the new heavens and the new earth is just going to be a redeemed version of this world. For example, Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which starts in this world and grows and continues into eternity.
What's that video?
And the book of Revelation describes heaven in pretty physical terms. There's going to be cities and kings and nations, so it's not just going to be floating on clouds for all eternity. But there are also a lot of Bible passages that imply discontinuity. That the world's just going to be destroyed, and the new heavens and new earth will be something completely new. 2 Peter says the earth is going to be burned up by fire, and Revelation says the new heavens and the new earth are going to replace the first earth that will pass away. So what gives? So when you update a Minecraft world, in a sense, the first world is destroyed, but the new world is the same, but better. The things that are destroyed in the first world are things like bugs and glitches, and everything good from the first world continues. If you update your world, you can have the same structures and all the cool stuff from the old world, but with a lot of the problems fixed and a lot of new possibilities added. This applies to our world because a lot of the problems of our world are baked into the laws of physics and biology, which make death, decay, and destruction inevitable. So when our world gets an update, the laws of physics need to be changed, and the laws of biology also need to be changed so that that the lion can lay down with the lamb, as scripture says. So the new creation is going to include things like trees, lemonade, Bach, birds, and Ohio, but is not going to include things like death, pain, loss, and decay. Finally, Minecraft explains the problem of why God allows evil better than any philosopher I've ever read. So, a world where God never allowed any problems would be better than a world like ours where God does allow problems. Or so we think. When we create a Minecraft world, we actually have this choice between creative and survival. In creative, you don't have to worry about the problems of survival mode, like your house getting blown up, or losing your stuff, or getting swarmed by mobs, or just not having enough resources to build what you want. So why does anyone choose survival mode? Yes, it is fun beating the Ender Dragon and facing other challenges, but there's more to it than that. Building in creative mode is just less meaningful. If you start with creative, the only difference between a block of gold and a block of gravel is aesthetics. They're equally easy to obtain. In survival, the things you build don't just look nice, they actually have functions like farms and stuff. And the function wouldn't exist if there wasn't the threat of dying without food. Challenges like having to get from one place to another actually inspire more creativity with railways and stuff. Valuable things like gold and emeralds are actually meaningful because they are hard to obtain. Industrial progress in Minecraft is often motivated by fear of danger, kind of like in the real world. That first night hiding from mobs in your dirt house is terrifying, but it inspires you to get more resources and take on the world. Basically, everything cool in Minecraft would not exist if it weren't for some problem that had to be overcome. This applies to the real world too. Every technology that we enjoy arose in response to something bad. We developed computers to win World War II. We developed space travel to win the Cold War. We developed houses so we wouldn't die in the freezing cold. And we developed plumbing because people were dying of thirst. This doesn't just apply to human technology, but also biological features that arose out of evolution. For example, the reason this looks tasty to you is because somewhere along the way, your ancestors died for not being motivated enough to eat food. The reason we enjoy romance is because we need motivation to keep the species going so it doesn't die out. The reason we enjoy fine literature is because we like seeing problems get overcome somehow. God knows that the existence of evil leads to creativity that would not have arose without it, and Minecraft is a very good way of illustrating this. It shows that in some way, evil can be a garden for more complex and intricate levels of good. Of course, the Christian knows that all evil will be destroyed someday, and all that will remain is the goodness that was brought out of it. In fact, evil being transformed and overcome with good is literally the whole message of the cross, with Jesus defeating death by his death and resurrection. Minecraft also shows us that creativity is good in and of itself, so if temporary evil leads to more creativity, then it's not really evil in the long term. Because we are created in the image of God, the Creator, having a world where we can create stuff helps us understand why God does what he does. Thank you for watching this video. If you want access to some exclusive content or just to support my channel and help me keep making videos while I'm in seminary, consider subscribing to my Patreon. You'll get access to old live streams, some private videos, and depending on which tier you subscribe to, you can request any video that you want.
I'm not gonna do that.